Look, have mercy on me.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn. Gabe, what's up, my friend?
Oh, nothing much, brother. National Championship Monday recording, so
Yes.
we're not going to be able to talk about that. But, hey, it is what it is. It's a late start, though, brother, isn't it?
Is this our, sixth national championship?
Yeah.
Both two women's,
We
two
grind
men's,
through.
two college football?
Yeah, we grind through.
Yeah, we do.
We got to record.
When we picked this recording day,
By hook
we
or by
didn't-
crook, it's just how it works. It's all.
We did not think about it. That did not go into consideration of every single college national championship.
At 8:20 start time, something though.
It is weird.
Yeah, like
is weird.
West Coast or East Coast 9:20 start time.
Yeah.
So there
That's
was a whole conversation on Twitter yesterday about the women's championship game
At 2
starting
p.m.
at 2 p.m. on primetime. What'd y'all think about that? Would you rather have a 2 p.m. game or a 8 p.m. game?
Well, on a Monday, definitely not. 2 p.m.
Not 2 p.m. on Monday.
I'd do 8 p.m., but I'd rather it be like that sweet spot. 7:20.
Yeah.
Something like
around
that.
there.
It'd be sort of perfect. But for us, maybe we'll be able to record and go watch, dude. How about that?
Yeah,
Hey.
if you don't.
Yeah. If listen, I get a lot of complaints, okay? They're like, can that guy shut his mother effing mouth? He just talks, and I do just yap all the time.
It makes me laugh when they say that too, because I'm like, okay, cut the guy some slack. He does a 3 hour. He's used to talking a lot.
Talk for a living. I'm sorry.
It's what he does.
I just talk. I'm
Christian's
way
just
too
there for
communicative.
Christian's just there for the looks, man.
Yeah.
That's what he's there
what,
for.
What'd you do this weekend?
Friday night, Anna Ruth had an award ceremony in
What'd you
Oxford.
get?
It was like who's who. It's like the top 200 students at the university. So we went to that. I went with her family on Friday night, and then we went to dinner after that. Great dinner to a place called Grit in Taylor, Mississippi, which is like right outside of Oxford.
Nice.
Burger, fire,
Burger.
smacking. Yeah, had
Smack
to.
now.
And she got a sirloin that was. Usually, sirloins are kind of
Prime
like,
USDA.
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
good beef.
good stuff.
Good beef.
stuff. Lean cut of meat there. So we did that on Friday night. Saturday, one of my buddies was in town from Louisiana, so we went and hung out with him.
Yeah.
We also had, I think we talked about this last year, but I don't remember. The DeSoto Wings Fest was this weekend on Saturday, and we have a team. My family has a team.
Yeah.
First place unique wings, first place traditional wings, and People's Choice.
Shout out.
Clean
Shout out.
swept all
What
the
the unique
categories.
wings? What flavor?
So we did for our unique wing, which I think this is backwards, but my dad calls the shots on this, so whatever. We have one's called Boom Boom, one's called Bang Bang. Bang Bang is like Bang Bang shrimp.
Okay.
And you would think that would be the traditional. The other one is a bacon brown sugar.
Boom boom.
Boom Boom, yeah. And that was our traditional.
That sounds good.
It was the highest scoring wing of all of them.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
The lowest score that it had across appearance, taste, tenderness, all that was 9.5.
Are these smoked wings for the most part, or you can fry them? Oh, you
Fried.
fry them. Okay.
Yeah, cornstarch, fry 'em,
Nice.
super crunchy.
Rock on.
Yeah, we make
Well,
all
shout
the
out.
sauce.
Shout out to Pops.
Yeah,
Coming through in the clutch.
So last week we were third place in traditional, third place in unique, and we won People's Choice, which is kind of just like everybody's favorite team, and it's because we have so many people out there, and we do. So most people, we just hand you a little boat with a wing in it. We do waffle with syrup, powdered sugar with the Boom Boom, the sweet wing on it, and then we do a ranch cup, the other wing, and a celery slice and a carrot slice. And usually, like most other teams, they only do one flavor. We do two flavors. You don't, and if anybody else does two flavors, you have to choose either this one or that one. With ours, you get both of them, and a waffle.
You guys do it right.
We do it right.
You do it. That's why you come in first place.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. Like it is.
No, I would imagine.
It's a lot of work, but
I'd imagine.
yeah, he was proud. He was happy.
Shout out. Well done.
Yeah,
That's well done.
And my sister's about to have a baby.
Yeah.
So for the last 3 months, he's been like, "Don't have a baby on this weekend. Like I've put too much money in it for us to have a baby this weekend." And she went to the
I gotta
hospital.
cook my damn wings.
Exactly. She went to the hospital on Friday morning. So we were all like, "Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?" Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you're viewing here, they did send her home.
Okay.
They said either today, which she didn't have it today, tomorrow, or she'll be induced on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I will have a nephew by the time we record next week.
What if that's cool? Yeah. That's really cool. What if it's like while the show's going on, while we're recording
tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she might go. She could go to the hospital, but I don't think she would have it that quickly.
Okay, I was just asking.
I'd have to dip though.
Well, shout out. Yeah. Damn, big things.
Yeah, it was a good
big
weekend.
Things.
Good weekend.
I did nothing. I did something. Friday and Sunday I did nothing. I just hung out. Saturday I had I'm just sick of it. I'm so sick of it. It's a good thing though. You met Alexander, right? He's one of my groomsmen.
Yeah.
He had his engagement party. He's getting married in Italy later this year, and I'm probably gonna have to make that trip. We'll see.
Yeah, I would imagine you're a groomsman, right?
Yeah, but I tied one on Saturday for him.
Yeah.
Traded him to a round of golf at Old Timber Trust. Shout out to John Goen, owner of the place. Set us up, gave him a free round, and then we had his engagement party in Collierville.
Oh, so you're almost down in my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Timber Trust.
Yeah, I like Timber Trust.
Right on the edge of Island Brand.
Yeah, but I tied a good one on Saturday, man. This was me yesterday. This was me
all day
yesterday. Yeah, just laying on the couch with these things on.
That's 2 out of the last
blocking everything out.
That's 2 out of the last 3 weekends. You've
I know.
had a rough Sunday.
I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. Like, going forward, listen. I don't have any plans for the next couple of weekends. I know we got UFC 300 coming up, but
you're not
taking it easy. I'm not
that?
gonna do that. Not gonna do that.
You're giving me like John Candy vibes with those on.
John Candy? Why?
I don't know.
That's just fat. Disrespectful, buddy. We're off to a hot start.
I was actually thinking Blues Brothers. Who plays the guy in the Blues Brothers?
Belushi.
Kenny?
John Belushi.
Oh, okay. Cool.
John Belushi.
Cool.
Chevy Chase and John Belushi.
He OD'd, right?
Did he?
Yes.
I don't like those vibes anymore. Those are bad vibes heading my way right this second. Good God.
All right, so you didn't have too much going on this weekend. Just tied one on Saturday for Alexander, who is for people obviously that don't know Alexander, he is a big old fella.
Yeah,
was he 6'7"?
It was funny when we were walking into Timber Trust. They're like, "Oh yeah, one of you is getting married," and I was like, "Yeah." He's coming in, and she's like, "Oh, what does he look like? I don't want to get him mistaken." And I'm like, "You can't miss him.
Yeah.
He is huge."
Yeah, he's 6'7", right?
Yeah, he went to Christian Brothers. He got recruited to play left tackle at Memphis, but he had a bunch of shoulder surgeries, and it sort of screwed him over. But he was a good lineman if he didn't have his shoulder popping out every play.
Yeah,
because he had 2 labrum surgeries.
But he's like decently thin now, isn't he?
Yeah,
like he's probably not a 300er.
He's probably close though.
Yeah, just because he's so tall.
Yeah,
he's
probably close. He's a big guy. Big guy.
Fella.
Bigger than me, which is sort of rare in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean he's probably what, 3 inches taller than you, 2 or 3 inches taller.
Okay, come on, like it's inch and a half or 2.
6'6"?
I'm 6'4".
Oh, he's like 6'7".
He's like 6'6".
And 3/4.
Yeah, I don't know. Come on, 3 full inches. I don't know. 3 inches is a lot, buddy. All right, like I don't know. I don't know if I can give him 3 full inches over me.
Okay, that's fair.
All right,
that's fair. All right, is that all we got?
Yeah, that's
for the
all
weekend?
we got. That's all we got.
Recap.
Done,
all right.
done boring people.
If anybody's bored by that, then I don't know what to tell you. I think we're pure entertainment. Pure entertainment.
If you do say so yourself.
If I do say so myself.
I hear you.
All right, let's move on to some University of Memphis basketball. Last week, both here and on the Gabe Kuhn Show, we kind of gave a little bit of a wish list for some players that we would like to see in a Memphis uniform this upcoming season. Both of our top guy was P.J. Haggerty, was a freshman at Tulsa this year. He is now in the fold, was the first domino to drop for Memphis. And then shortly after that, Gabe, what else happened?
Dane Danger.
Yeah.
Dane Danger with the Danger Zone.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Illinois, not as productive.
And then we'll get to like the negative one with Ashton Hardaway hopping in the transfer portal. But the PJ Haggerty stuff, man, phenomenal.
Huge.
Super happy about it.
What does On Three have him as? Top 5.
He was two, but he's moved around. He was 8, and then he was 2, and then he was 3.
He's kind of all over the place.
He's been moving around everywhere. According to my guy at CBS Sports, David Cobb, he has him at 17. He originally had him at 47. Then he goes, I was asking him, like, why do you have him at 47? And he goes, I changed it to 17. He did it overnight, and then it published. I was like, what made you move him up? He's got 3 years of eligibility. He's a 22-point per game scorer, 5 rebounds per game. He's a good rebounding point guard at 6'3", 200 pounds. He can assist just about anybody, right around 4 or 5 assists.
Yeah.
I love this move. He shoots about 50% from the field. We need to see if he can develop a 3-point ball. It was about 29% last year, but he did take 2.5 a game. And if you look toward the end of his year with Tulsa, there were some spike games where he was shooting 5, making 3 of them, but there was also the games where he'd go 0 for 5 from 3.
And I think that helps when you have more talent around you and the floor is spaced better.
Yes.
He was the funnel. Guy. He was the focus point for Tulsa. And we'll see, but theoretically, you would imagine it won't be that way at Memphis.
I'm going to run this by you. This is the one thing, there's a lot of things like the scoring, the 3 years left of eligibility. The one thing I like the most just about the current situation is you remember a couple of years ago, they got Kendrick Davis. He was one of the first guys to commit in that entire class, and he was the #1 transfer portal recruit. And I think it's pretty similar to P.J. Haggerty because he was a 22-point per game scorer at SMU where P.J. did it at Tulsa in conference. But Kendrick was an early recruit, and you built around him, right?
And now he only had 1 year.
Yeah, and now P.J. Haggerty, you get that done early. If David Jones doesn't come back, you have your focal point.
Yep.
You have your #1 in the pecking order. You have your point guard. You have your facilitator. Now let's just build around him. It's just nice to see that out of the way first because you're going to have a long time now to just add pieces around him and make him fit. Probably surround him with some shooting, get some big man depth, that type of thing. But this was, we talked about it with our wish list. This was the one guy where I was like, perfect fit, perfect situation. Makes a lot of sense. And also, here's the other thing. We were struggling with Javon Quinterly because on the defensive end, not so good, and you didn't know if he was going to show up every game. P.J. Haggerty, if you watched him this year, he was every single game showing up, showing out, giving his all, really good at hopping into passing lanes and getting some steals, getting some takeaways, but you don't have to worry about him on that end. I think he's really a plus guy on the defensive end.
Yeah, and there's so much room for growth still. True freshman, someone that will continue to develop.
Well, a true freshman, he was a transfer from TCU, but he didn't play. So I guess he'd be a redshirt.
It's a redshirt. Yeah, redshirt.
He'd be a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
But still, the upside is there for him to develop physically, continuing to grow, and just learn more about the defensive end of the floor. Obviously, his offensive end of the floor, that offensive game is already so developed. But defensively, that's just something, especially coming into this system with Penny and the kind of coach that he is, I think we'll see him continue to grow on that end. Now, what about Dane Danger? How do you feel about this?
So, I mean, if you look at Dane Danger's career, and he's got 2 more years of eligibility because Baylor, he only played 3 games. So he's got 1 more year on top of that, even though he's listed as a junior. If you look at his history, I don't really love the fit. And the reason I don't is because he was 6'9", 270.
Yeah, he's bigger.
And he's an interior scorer. And he can do a little bit on the defensive end, but he's not like some defensive juggernaut.
He's not like an incredible rebounder.
When you see sort of the side stories about him and what he wants to do to try to fit into Penny's system, then you say, okay, I get the vision, but I have to see that vision materialize before I buy into, he's going to be a mainstay, he's going to be a starting big, that type of thing. Because I think he's got down to 258 from 270, and he said he's going to try to get to 240. Yeah. But he, in his past, has been a very lumbering, interior scoring, good footwork type of big. And Penny and the staff and the way he runs the thing on the offensive end, they've never been intentional about getting a guy like that the ball and getting him his touches in the paint.
Yeah.
Saw it with Jordan Brown. That didn't work out. I think he runs the floor a little better than Jordan Brown did. But I think Illinois, one of the reasons they got way better offensively than they were last year is because Dane Danger had to take a backseat to Coleman Hawkins.
Exactly.
And Coleman Hawkins ran the hell out of the floor and spread the floor. And it opened up everything for Terrence Shannon and that offense to really cook. And Dane Danger took a back seat. Now, I will say his tournament numbers this year were pretty good. Solid. Against Morehead State, he had 21 points. He was very efficient in every game he played. So tip the cap. This is a very good get. But I forgive me for being a little bit because of how I saw Jordan Brown work out.
It's how we're
I just
be this
have
year.
to click the pause button a little bit about fit until I see what he looks like, if he's losing the weight, if he can run the floor at a better way than he has in the past.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to go ahead and warn everybody about that anyway. We are going to be more precautious on people
100%.
this year.
You have
and we're going to peel back layers a little bit more this year and say, and I think, I think it even extends past Jordan Brown, if we're being honest. I think it could extend to Javon Quinterly as well. And I know that, he obviously had his ups and downs, but he had very good moments. But you look at what was said about him in the offseason, fair or not, by Nate Oates leaving Alabama, and you go, okay, maybe there was something there. So just being more precautious on how we view these
after
things.
the way last year went, I don't think, because what were we saying about Jordan Brown when he committed?
They could be the player of the year.
Oh my gosh, player
In
of
the
the year
conference.
no, I can't. Any of these guys that join this team, I can't just like take it at surface value and just say, "Oh yeah, that's." I have to dig a little deeper.
Dig deeper.
Now, even if you dig deeper with PJ Haggerty, you feel fine.
Exactly.
But you dig deeper with Dane Danger.
There's some concerning
There's
things.
some things that I don't think are perfect. About it.
And I mean, there are pros and cons. You look at Memphis, and we've said for years they just never have had that big physical presence, and I think a lot of the reasons for that is because of the style. But he does bring that, even if he drops weight, that's his play style. He's a little bit more physical. He's not an elite rim protector. He's not an elite scorer. Most points per game was 2 years ago at Illinois, 9.5. You talked about his playing time being limited. He went from a 20-minute player per game to a 10-minute player per game. But, I mean, he was effective in a more limited role this year. So if you look at it as that, and let's say that's it. Let's say that's where we put the level at right now, is he's a good rotational big that can come in and give you 10 to 12 minutes a game, then that's not bad. Is it a foundational building block piece?
Sure. We'll see.
We'll see on that. But it's more, I would obviously, it'd be more akin to like the Nick Jourdain edition from last year than a more high-profile
100%.
edition. It's a player that you probably need to have or have to have. But it's not a huge needle mover, but it's still someone that you have to have on the team.
And here, let's really talk about this too from a scholarship perspective. With Ashton Hardaway out, and we'll talk about it. You're counting on, you have PJ Haggerty, Dane Danger, Nick Jourdain.
That's it. You got 3 players right now.
If Dane Danger's one of 8 guys you're bringing in, hell yeah, good
fine.
job.
Yeah.
That's fine. But you're going to have to keep finding more guys. Like if it was Cliff Amore, who you brought up from Rutgers, who runs the hell out of the floor, all defense in the Big Ten, I'd be ecstatic about it because I'd love the fit and I'd love the experience and all that, even though he's got only one more year of eligibility. But Dane Danger doesn't quite fit the criteria of a perfect starting big for a penny. But I'm not going to let perfect get in the way of good or great.
Right.
And I think this was a good pickup.
Yes, I think it's a valuable addition.
Yes.
And I think that's about as high as you can raise the ceiling on that. It's a valuable addition. It's, if we want to dig back into the bag from last year, it's a guy who has high-level tournament experience, has played with a really, really good team, one of the best offensive teams in the country this season in Illinois. One of the
best,
was
at Baylor previously.
Right. Spent a year at Baylor before that, kind of coming off, 3 years removed from their No, it was the year after their national championship. I think he was there 21-22, so I think it was 2021, the 2021 season when they won. So I think he was there right after their national championship. So good culture there as well. So he's been around high-level teams, high-level players like Terrence Shannon, who you mentioned. So I think it's valuable, but I don't think it's someone who's going to really move the needle too much.
I'm not going
to
react about him the way I'm reacting about PJ Haggerty. That's fair. But again, there's going to be 6-7 more guys.
Exactly.
This entire class. And forgot to mention Jared Harris is the other guy that's the high school edition. The high school recruit.
Yeah.
And then maybe David Jones. But there's going to be 6 or 7 more additions in the transfer portal or in the high school ranks that we're just going to have to pay attention to. And maybe they are better fits than Dain. If everything was perfect, and if you just sort of copy and pasted the play style that Dane Danger has, I think he would be a great reserve big.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But if he loses the requisite weight and runs the floor better and does the things that are being asked of him, he could be a good starting big.
Yeah.
But we're just going to have to see how it all plays out. That's how it is.
No, there's absolutely a range of outcomes with it. And like you're saying, if he's the 4th to 6th best transfer that you add, I think that's a really good job.
Yes, 100%.
If that's where he lands.
I have a question
on
for
that
y'all
totem pole. Yeah, what's up?
About roster construction moving forward. Obviously, the 2 guys that he's brought in for the transfer portal, that Penny has brought in for the transfer portal, are guys that have multiple years of eligibility. Dane's got however many 2 years left. PJ's got 3. Do you think that that's enough to like have kind of a building block, or do you think that we're going to see Penny continue to go and try to find guys with more years of eligibility over the obvious talent level that we saw him get last year?
It depends. Because I think if you're going to have a guy who's going to be a mercenary for a year, you got to find more high character guys than you did this year that are really going to grind for you for that year.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where it went wrong. You had the talent, you just didn't have the guys that were really bought in exactly how you thought they were going to be bought in.
Exactly.
But, you know, I roster construction, I think you just need to find a mix of guys. Find a mix of guys. Some guys can have 3 years left. Some guys can have 2. Some guys can have 1. Just find the right mix of guys and the right character guys. And I wonder, like, going forward, and this has been one of Penny's big weak points is keeping young guys, freshmen, high school recruits on campus for more than a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about Ashton in a second. It's his own damn son
Right.
in the transfer portal. But I wonder if he's going to try to delve into high school recruiting a little bit more going into the future. I don't think he will, but I think that
sentiment.
I just think you need to find a way because it's just so hard for him to keep guys on campus. So that's why he would avoid it.
Yeah.
But you need to find a way to have guys around for more than 1
year. Yeah.
Because this year, I mean, I was talking about it. One positive about the way Penny puts together these teams now is for summer radio when it gets real bare. There's I got something to talk about. Oh, there was a commit yesterday at the guard position, whatever. So that keeps me busy, but it also does not like give you, especially the way last year ended, doesn't give you like the most crazy confidence that it's going to be a sustainable way to go about this thing. And I guess the sentiment for me with high school recruiting is you could find a way to keep them around for more, try to develop them, but I know it hasn't been a strong suit. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up, though. You just need more guys that stay for long.
And you say that, but Carl Sharonfant, Ashton Hardaway, Mikey Williams, they're all gone.
They're all gone.
They're all gone.
I completely understand.
And even with transfers that had multiple years of eligibility, you look at you look at the last 2 years. Keontae Kennedy, a player that we felt like potentially could have helped him this past year. He transferred after 1 year. You look at this year, Jalen Young. I know he didn't have a bunch of playing time, but he leaves. So, and Jonathan Pierre also. So
it's just tough.
Either way, whether it's been high school or transfers with multiple years of eligibility, there just hasn't been any type of consistency or holdover over the last 2 years.
But how do you get a hold of that? That is my question.
Winning, I don't know. But I bet 2 years ago they win, and they
and still guys were leaving.
And still guys were leaving. So I don't really know the answer to that. But how did you feel about Ashton leaving? Indifferent or?
I mean, it's hard to be like fully indifferent.
Yeah.
I hate to be this guy, but this is the truth of it. For 2 weeks previous to that, you heard like murmurs, and I saw some people saying like, "Well, why didn't a report get published?" Because no one is going to publish a report by a reputable source of strict rumors that they're hearing. But I heard murmurs about Ashton being maybe a little bit malcontent and wanting to get out. But, for me, if I'm just viewing him as a player and not Penny Hardaway's son, which is kind of hard to separate those.
Yeah.
I don't know if he fits this I don't know if he fits Penny's style.
I'm with you.
Very well.
I'm with you.
He's not overly athletic and running the floor great. The defense, probably a negative for right now until he, gets his man legs under him because he's still relatively young, and I still think he could be a good player elsewhere. Don't get it twisted.
He's just kind of a set.
But
and shoot.
his big thing is set 3 balls, and this team could use shooting, but this team also needs someone who can shoot, run up and down the floor, move side to side, have lateral quickness. I don't think he fits very well.
They're not
in that regard. It is just wild to see Ashton Hardaway in the portal leaving his dad's program.
Yeah.
But when you break down like the fit and where we're at right now, you need someone useful with every single scholarship you have. Yeah. And I don't know if Ashton's the most useful player for him right now.
Yeah, I think somewhere that has more sets, that moves more slowly offensively, that allows people to have set shooters, which Memphis there's just not a ton of that. I think fits his play style better. So, I mean, he
doesn't really belong in like a super free-flowing offense.
No. So, honestly, just objectively looking at it, like for the University of Memphis and for Ashton individually, it does make more sense for him to go somewhere where his skill set can shine. And where Memphis has another scholarship that they can fill with someone who fits their system.
So I guess there's two different sides of this thing that like I sort of see as one. It'll be like, oh, if Ashton's leaving, everything must be shit behind the scenes.
Right.
Like, oh God, this must be a dumpster fire. And okay, you can have that opinion, but let's also look at the fact that PJ Haggerty, number 2 recruit in the transfer portal, just committed there, and Dane Danger, who's another top 40 recruit, just committed.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it can't be that miserable.
Yeah, I think it can be overblown.
But I also think that people that are just trying to dismiss it and be like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Ashton Hardaway getting in the portal, I think that's a little short-sighted as well, because I think there's something to be said about, okay, Penny recruited his son as a 4-star thinking he could help last year's team. Yeah. What happened to that sentiment? It's just gone altogether?
Yeah.
Like you don't think he can help anymore?
It's a strange. So it's a strange situation.
It's a very strange situation, and I think it's hard to really. It's hard to ignore. It's his damn son. Like you just can't. But people want to try to ignore that. You can't. You just cannot.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is not something that's just super uncommon in college basketball, maybe because you just have less coaches. But if you look at the college football ranks, this happens fairly often. Like a lot of times what happens, and they're all going to be different situations, but a lot of times a player will go play, at the school that their dad coaches at. Like I said, it's typically position coaches or quality coaches, whatever. Sometimes they come in as walk-on guys and then eventually leave and go somewhere else. And it's like, it's not that, because he is a 4-star, but it is kind of the same sentiment of maybe the fit's not going to work and maybe you're not going to end up getting the minutes that you could elsewhere. And it's not because of your talent. It's more because of fit. So I don't think it's totally an uncommon situation. College basketball, a little bit different. There's not the player pool is smaller. The coach pool is smaller. But college football...
Closest I've seen to it in college basketball, did you see Patrick McCaffrey get in from Iowa? Fran McCaffrey's son, but he played 4 years already for Iowa,
right?
And said, "Screw it, I'm going to go somewhere else for one more year."
Yeah, no, it is a little bit of a different situation, but to me, I'm kind of with you. Like, is it something? Is it not? Maybe, but it doesn't raise alarm bells because, like you're saying, PJ Haggerty just committed here.
I mean, but yeah, it's not like crazy. It's a little weird, but
right.
I mean, I remember the comparisons between Penny and Coach Prime.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Shiloh Sanders or Shedeur Sanders leaving Colorado?
Not necessarily.
That would be, everybody would flip their freaking, they would lose their mind.
Yeah, that's true.
And I understand like it's a different, level of notoriety that he has at Colorado right now, but people would lose their mind. And
and those are both players that play a lot.
If your fandom's getting in the way of trying to at least like break down a son getting in the transfer portal, I think you need to drop a little bit of the blue goggles and just realize that it's strange. It's strange. Not a lot of precedent for it.
Right. All right. We got anything else on the basketball front?
Gosh, I guess we have a few. Let's go through this list.
I think Kenny's got a list
of transfers.
Yeah.
So there's some guys that have entered the portal that Memphis has been affiliated with. They're showing interest in, and so I wanted to get your guys' opinion on how deeply you would look into them, if they would fit what they've already got in place with PJ and Dain and Jared Harris. So let's walk through these real quick. There's a couple of guys that they are pursuing. One of them is from University of North Texas, Aaron Scott. I think he's a 6'7" guard.
Great defender, shoots the ball at an incredibly high rate.
What are y'all's thoughts on Aaron Scott?
I would love him as an addition.
Big fan.
Huge fan. Great defensive player.
Long,
athletic as hell. 37% from 3. I think as a value piece, as a fit piece, perfect.
Who does he remind you of?
Perfect. Huh?
He reminds me a little bit of TFA.
The shooting's better.
Yeah, the shooting's better, but just defensively,
yes.
Size-wise, fit-wise.
Yes.
We talked about this the past few weeks. I know I keep bringing it up.
We would have loved to have him.
Yeah,
we'd love to have him.
We loved that fit. It felt like a great match. It felt like the perfect puzzle piece. And Aaron Scott has a little bit of that. He's a solid scorer. He's a good defender. He can block shots. He can get steals. He can create in transition. I think overall, fit-wise, it's a great fit.
And Kadir Copeland is the next one you wanted us to discuss, right, Katie, from Syracuse. 6'6", big guard.
Yeah.
Big guard.
Yeah, big guard.
And he's a really interesting player.
He's pretty versatile.
Yeah, defense, not quite the defender of Aaron Scott, but he's definitely got something. But offensively, like, he is 6'6", but he can handle relatively well, and he can facilitate. There's a game toward the end of the year where he had 9 assists at 6'6". Not like the greatest shooter in the world, but a decent offensive player. I think that would be fine. He's a huge guard. He's got 2 or 3 years of eligibility, Kenny, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore. So
He's a sophomore.
Yeah, so 2 years left. I mean, I would like that addition as well. Both those guys, good wings, good small ball lineups you can run with those guys, and sort of positionless type deal where they do a lot of things really well.
And neither one of them is going to command a ridiculous amount of touches in a game. Kenny.
Which leads us to the next guy that they're showing interest in. A guy who Penny Hardaway actively recruited last year in the portal, ended up going to Arkansas. Khalif Battle, who will be a grad transfer, is back in the transfer portal this year. 6'5", 175 guard, just a ball-dominant player.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts? What do you think about Khalif Battle?
Okay, let's just run through this real quick.
Yeah.
Let's say you had David Jones and P.J. Haggerty right in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I don't know how that
Calipari
works.
Battle would have to be a bench scorer.
Yeah.
He'd have to be strictly with a bench.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he'd do that. And also, we'll talk about it in a second, but Cal headed to Arkansas. I don't know if I wonder if he'll try to stay around.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone that we talked about last year coming out of Temple that we all were like, okay, if they can get that, go get him for sure.
Based on the way last year went and the style of player he is and what they already have,
right?
And PJ Haggerty, like all hands on deck. Sure, if you get him, you get him.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think he's someone that you would turn. I definitely
don't turn him down.
Don't turn him down. If he wants to come to Memphis, you allow him to come to Memphis. But then it becomes the question of: are there too many mouths to feed? Are there enough touches to go around?
Because what I said about PJ Haggerty being first, now you go find support players.
Yeah.
Is he a support player?
Yeah, can he do that?
But he's not a support player.
But
he's just,
let me say this.
Good player, not a support player.
Yeah. PJ is also not your ball dominant, needs high amount of shots to be effective to play the lead guard. Like, he's a guy who actively looks to get guys involved.
That's true.
On his team. And so what is the one thing that the Tigers need to surround a guy like PJ Haggerty with?
Shooting.
And that's shooting. And Khalif Battle is a shooter, man.
Yeah.
He's a shooter.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it.
But I again.
But it kind of does feel like going and grabbing all the shiny pieces that you can grab.
If this was last year, I'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah. But now I just have a different mindset based on the amount of talent and what it equals.
And he only has 1 year.
Yes. I mean, if you get him, you get him.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be like we have to get him
because I think
we're not going to be.
They've got that
a
already.
good team next year.
I think
they've got their guy.
I think there are other players that fit better, but he's not someone you turn down. Kenny, you got one more.
I got more. This is a weird one.
This is so wild. I kind of like it.
I do too. I have to say it.
Former Memphis Tiger, former Creighton Blue Jay, Jonathan Lawson.
Didn't play many minutes at either place.
No.
I like Jonathan though. I wish he would have stayed around last year. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
I felt that way too because I think he really had some of those moments where you were like, he's got the length, he can handle the ball, he can shoot, he can pass the ball, but it's just never really materialized. So my one big pause is depending on who comes back and what you have. You know, if you've only got 6 or 7 spots, whatever, I don't know if he's really someone that you want to pursue as a scholarship player when you have so many holes
I'll say this.
to fill.
If it's hey, I thought it was going to be a greener pasture when I went to Creighton. I didn't get the minutes. You actually did right by me now looking back at it. I want to stay here. I want to be a Memphis Tiger.
Yeah.
If that's sort of the conversation, I feel good about it because then he could stay for 3 more years.
2 more years.
Right?
And what do we know he's good at? Spot up shooting.
I mean, spot up shooting, and he's probably the most athletic Lawson.
Oh, by far.
Yeah, definitely.
So he can run the floor.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a little bit of upside defensively that you could probably unlock. You just got to get him in the right place at the right time. It's about the IQ, and I think he's probably getting there after 3 years now in college basketball. But I would like it. I would not mind it in the slightest.
I don't hate it because it goes back to what we're talking about of role players.
Yeah.
And guys that he's obviously not someone that's coming in commanding a ton of touches or expecting 25 minutes a game or anything like that. And I think he does have the upside, like we're talking about, passing, shooting, length, versatility, position flexibility. Like he has those things. It's just you're kind of betting on, can it happen? Like, can he hit that next level? Because it just hasn't fully materialized for him yet. So you're kind of betting on potential and you're taking a flyer, and it just becomes a question of, do you want proven production or do you want someone that could potentially be productive?
And don't fool yourself if it's not in the back of your mind that he was here and transferred already.
Right.
I think you're lying to yourself.
Right.
So that's another part of it. That, do you trust him to have a different mindset this time around coming into Memphis and stay?
Yeah. Especially if he doesn't get a ton of minutes.
I'm very interested to know. You look at those 4 guys that we talked about in terms of who they're pursuing and who they're interested in. Do you know what the one position that's missing in those 4 is? Another big. Is somebody else is a big?
They need a big.
They've got to go get more bigs. Has to happen, right?
Dane Danger. You can't go in next year with Dain being your only big.
Right.
Man.
Dain and Nick at the 4 and 5.
Yeah, you're gonna have to find another 5. You just have to.
Yeah. No, it has to happen. You would imagine that would become.
You're gonna have to find 2 more bigs, really.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that.
Just, man, there's what, 1,350 names there.
Hey, there's a name.
There's somebody
There's
there.
somebody there.
By the end of this whole thing, I'd bet they'd have 2 more bigs, and I'd bet they'd have some more wings to go with it.
They got plenty of roster spots available.
And there is just way too many. There's more players than spots that are available. So I would imagine there is somewhere for some of these guys to go, and that could be Memphis. And
well, there's a name that's floating out there center-wise that I'll share with you off air that y'all might be interested in.
Okay. Well, does it have anything to do with Kentucky?
No.
That would be really cool, though.
Not yet.
The Aaron Bradshaw one.
I mean, that literally happened last night.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be pretty awesome if he could shake that one, 7'1" and sprinting
up
rim
and
to
down the
rim.
floor.
That would be a good one. He was the #1 ranked center last year.
Yeah.
But I'm not throwing anything into the air because he probably will end somewhere else.
Wishful
That's just how
thinking.
that works.
And let's not forget, it is only the beginning of April, so there's still plenty of time left. All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break. I don't have any.
What are we doing after?
Oh,
the break?
I think we're going to do the Hot 3 with Kenny. I think it's going to be a lot of college basketball bases where we're going this week. It's just the time we're at right now.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's my segue. I don't have anything else this week. Y'all didn't give me anything creative to go off the dome with. So,
All right, well, let me do it.
okay, go for it.
Let's get to the break. Brandon Clark looks like nothing happened. Looks like he just said, man, screw basketball for a minute. It didn't look like he had any injury at all. He looks like Brandon Clark. And I think that's something that the Grizzlies, going forward, it can definitely be something you can have in your back pocket.
Has what you've seen out of him over these last few games, has it changed any of the calculus at all for what they're going to do?
Yes. I've always been saying go draft whatever because you can go sign any, pretty affordable. There's a lot of affordable bigs that are going to be coming out this summer. I've always said just go draft whatever. But I literally want to say go draft whatever now because Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, closing lineup definitely could work.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Do you guys think that we check every box for a playoff team? I don't know what all the boxes are. I don't know what college football budget's boxes are. But let's say there were 12. We'll go with 12 team. There were 12 boxes. I don't know what they are. Do we seriously check every one of them?
No.
Surely we're at like 11 out of 12 or 10 out of 12.
I don't know how you can say you check the defensive box, whatever the defensive box is, because it's such a mystery.
Right? Like you can't even. I don't even think you can fill that box in yet.
Well, then maybe that's not a box he's talking about. What are the boxes to be a?
How is the whole defensive side of the ball not a box?
Number
secondary is a mystery. You've got a lot of guys you're replacing there. Linebackers, Jeff gone. You just got Chandler back.
Yeah.
You have high hopes for Mackey, but what's his role? Is he going to be Jalen's replacement? Is he going to be an actual stand-up Like linebacker, like what role is he going to play?
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. Oh, it's the Hot Three, boys. You guys ready?
Of
Let's
course,
do it.
absolutely.
Man, we called an audible in this one. We're going to go a little bit different. We talked about it being all college basketball, but we absolutely have to insert the UFC 300 into this Hot Three because it is the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Yep.
And it happens on Saturday, so we've got to talk about that. But let's get into the Hot Three. Obviously, on Sunday afternoon, we talked about it a little bit during the first segment. Women's national title game was Iowa versus South Carolina. South Carolina obviously ended up winning that game, completed an undefeated season. Dawn Staley won her third national championship. Iowa, obviously, with Caitlin Clark, missed out on that, but Caitlin cemented herself as just she's that chick, man. She's
awesome.
She's so awesome. But what are your guys' thoughts on the what are y'all's guys' thoughts on the national championship game?
I thought it was a great game, and 87 to 75. I saw that coming. South Carolina has 9 girls that they play. They're deep. Iowa's not that way. They're bigger. They're deeper. They're a better team, and the Iowa got out rebounded like. What was it, 45 to 28 or something?
Camila Cardosa had 17
yeah,
rebounds.
and then my favorite stat is, did you see the bench scoring?
Yeah.
37 to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can't win ball games. The fact that it was only a 12-point game is honestly kind of insane when you think about it, and it has to do with Caitlin Clark dropping 30 in and
18 in the first quarter.
She's phenomenal. But one thing I do want to say, and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about the game. Dawn Staley is one of my favorite coaches in all of sports, not just women's basketball, not just college basketball, not in all of sports. She is classy.
She's awesome.
It gets, man. She is so classy. She won her third natty.
Yep.
And last year they got knocked out by that same team, so she was a little overcome with emotion. And she literally spent her time on the podium thanking Caitlin Clark for how much she has lifted up this game, and she just threw a ode to her. You don't have to do that when you beat that person, and she still did it. And for good reason, but still, she is one of the classiest people in sports right now.
Yeah, it's hard not to love her between just the obvious on-the-floor success that she's had at South Carolina. Then you dig deeper into her story. You learn how good she was in college at Virginia. I think she went to a national championship at Virginia against Tennessee. I think it was an 8-year career in the WNBA. And then her coaching success, 3 national championships at South Carolina. So just from that overall, her success as a player and a coach, and then if you just watch her post-game and the way that she talks about her team and the teams that she plays against, she's always a class act. It's hard not to be a big fan of Dawn Staley.
Seeing the SEC championship game where LSU and South Carolina got into it, and just like the foil between Kim Mulkey and her, it's just so
polar
different.
opposites.
Complete polar opposites. Now, I do want to give a shout out to the women's game, though, because like I found myself over the weekend, and I'll get to the ratings in a second. We're having like real debates and like hot take shows about certain things that happened in the women's tournament. And when the hell has that ever been the case?
Yeah.
One of them was the illegal screen at the end of the UConn and Iowa game, which was an illegal screen. We can, if you want to sit down with me and say you don't call it at that point with 3 seconds left, cool. But if you're trying to tell me it wasn't an illegal screen, you can kiss my ass. That was like the definition of an illegal screen by Aaliyah Edwards, great player, but it was an illegal screen. And then there was the other debate, which I just can't get over, is the Caitlin Clark debate of rings.
Yeah.
When Brianna Stewart and Diana Taurasi, they're kind of like slick hating on her. Diana Taurasi said, well, now you've been playing against 18 to 22-year-olds. Now you're going to have to play against real women. It's like, what? Okay, all right, whatever. She set the scoring record in women's college basketball. She set the 3-point record. She set the assist record. Whatever. Right. But Brianna Stewart said, oh, if you want to be one of the GOATs of college basketball, you have to win a ring. Really? Brianna, you went to UConn.
UConn, right.
Seriously, be quiet.
Yeah.
Like you didn't go to Iowa.
Right.
You you were playing next to 4 other WNBA players.
Right.
So like I despise that, but this is the great part about it. It's a double-edged sword because it was almost like LeBron James level style hate, right? Like where they're you can only pick apart certain things, so people point to his finals record.
Right.
It's like, well, how many finals has he been to? He's won 4 of them still, but how many has he been to? You're picking apart how many finals he's been to and lost.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get to this certain level of celebrity and
There's
stardom,
so few
there's
things.
gonna be some level of hate, and that's sort of the thing that they're. The fact that Caitlin Clark is getting picked apart, to me, for not having a ring at the college levels, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's showing that, like, oh, she's reached this level where people are going to try to pick her apart.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look at what she did outside of the numbers and the records that she broke. Like, she took this Iowa team to back-to-back national championships against LSU and South Carolina, who were just markedly much better teams. And no, she couldn't on her own lift her team to defeat these 2 powerhouse teams in the national championship. She did kind of slay the dragon of beating LSU this year in the Final Four or Elite Eight. But overall, just like for her to be able to take that team, who has some solid players, but nothing even close to the level of LSU and South Carolina, to back-to-back national championships. No, she didn't win one, but even the fact that they were there shows you how good she was. And on top of even all that, she's been transcendent in women's basketball. What she's done, and I think the 2 highest rated women's college basketball, 3
from the Elite Eight on,
Final Four, and the national championship.
From the Elite Eight on, the games that Caitlin Clark was a part of were number one. She broke her record each time.
Yeah.
So LSU 12.3 million was the record. 14.2 million against UConn, then beat that record. 18.7 million versus South Carolina at 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. The peak was 24 million. Not only is that the record for women's college basketball, that's the record for any women's sporting event ever on national TV.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's why Dawn Staley's up there like,
thank you.
Tip the cap. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like the mark you've left, I don't care if you have a ring or not, the mark you've left is that of a women's college basketball GOAT.
Yeah.
Because now, going into the next few years, people are going to ask, okay, what's going on? You know, Caitlin Clark's going to be the WNBA. How does the women's game handle it? Well, because of Caitlin Clark's influence, you're going to have more girls like her, and then you're going to have, Juju Watkins at USC is badass. I mean, she set the freshman scoring record in women's college basketball.
Yep.
Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame is phenomenal. Paige Beckers still has one more year that she's going to spend. So, the mark is there, and I don't think that women's college basketball, it may take a dip next year, but it's not going to be as dramatic as people think because Caitlin Clark's out of the game.
Yeah.
And maybe she lifts up the WNBA. That's yet to be seen, though.
Yeah, and there are these times where women's college basketball has, leveled up. And just like off the top of my head, like Candace Parker was huge for both the collegiate game and the WNBA. And then Sabrina Ionescu at Oregon lifted up the game and is continuing to lift up the game in the WNBA.
This was dramatic.
And so it just keeps increasing.
Yeah.
And then Caitlin Clark has blown the roof off it to heights that it's never been before.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's going to be next? Because you would imagine.
Because I still think it's in good hands.
Yeah,
I still think it's in great hands.
It's going to be Juju.
I think it's
man.
Juju Watkins.
I think
I
you're
really
right.
do.
I
Like,
think
she's ridiculous.
She's
so good.
If they keep that rule in place where women have to stay in college for 4 years, she might break the record, man.
What blows me away about her is she's 6'1" too, doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
Like she's kind of an alien in the women's game, and like somebody made this, like the men's comparison for her would be Carmelo Anthony. I'm like, that's pretty damn good.
It's fair.
It's pretty freaking good. Although she might get her teammates more involved.
Yeah.
by the time she gets to be a senior at USC.
Yeah, but it is really cool to see. And we talked about it on your show last week. This is the last thing I'll say on it, and then we can move on to our next topic. But usually, even around this time of year when the women's tournament was going on, you just didn't hear about it publicly.
Nope.
We talked about it last week after the Elite Eight game, after the LSU and Iowa game. Like the last week and a half, 2 weeks, If you go on social media, these accounts, ESPN, Bleacher Report, all these accounts that cover sports, I've seen more in the past 2 weeks than I've seen in
No one
pretty
can
much
shut up about it.
in my life on women's
one can
basketball
shut
in the
up about
public
it. They
eye.
love
So
it. They love it.
It is cool. All right,
great.
Kenny, next topic. Let's move it on.
Man, last night was wild, right? Like I was sitting at the computer, I was editing some stuff, and all of a sudden it popped up. Some random sports guy reporter in Little Rock said, "My sources are telling me that John Calipari is in discussions with Arkansas to become the next coach of the Razorback basketball program." And I was like, nah, no way. And I was like, man, that's a really strong thing to like. This guy's a legit reporter. He's a newsroom guy. It's a weird thing to bank his career on. That's something if you get wrong, you're made fun of for the rest of your career. Then all of a sudden, other guys, Matt Norlander, other people started denouncing, and then it became legit. John Calipari is now the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
I think we're going to get by the time this comes out, we'll probably be able to be finalized, and Arkansas will announce it. I'm hearing 5 years, $8 million per. That'll play.
Not too shabby.
I think that's $500,000 less than what he's making in Kentucky right now.
He was at 8.5.
But I think he'll trade that $500,000 in for a little less expectations, a little less stress, and it's kind of funny to see. We've had USC, Andy Enfield, USC to SMU. That led to Arkansas to USC, which ultimately led Kentucky to Arkansas. And now Kentucky's going to have to find somebody. I mean, this is a wild coaching carousel. This is one for the books. And shout out to, John Calipari in Arkansas for getting this done. It sounds like John Tyson, the Tyson Chicken, Tyson Foods guy, really was the guy who spearheaded this along with Hunter Yurachek, their AD. But it all led to this, and I think it's a great hire for Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens with his recruiting class, which is ranked number 2, according to 247 and On3. He'll probably take a fair amount of those guys over to Arkansas. But he knows the SEC. He knows that job. He's played against them plenty. He knows Bud Walton. He knows those fans. And he's comfortable taking it at this point. And I don't think this is some ridiculous. Some people are going to paint it as this retirement job. Oh, he's just trying to retire and move off into the sunset with no expectations. Weirdly enough,
just call me out if you want to.
As much as people want to try to play it that way, he's getting paid $8 million a year. He'll be a top 5 paid head coach by the time we get into next year. And Arkansas just came off 2 Elite Eights and a Sweet 16. There's expectations he's gonna have to reach. He can't just coast.
Right.
He's gonna have to be in a second weekend here in the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, the longer I kind of chew on this, the more that I like it. Because we've seen reports today, who knows, we kind of talked about it before the show. These numbers are so up in the air, until they're officially released by whatever. We don't really know the NIL numbers that schools are
They
giving
said
out.
5 or 6 mil.
But they said $5 million, which I've seen reports of that is
can
more
cook
than
with
what he
that.
had at Kentucky. That's more than what he used at Kentucky. And Arkansas is not the historic program that Kentucky is, but
It's got its own history.
It does have its own history. They've been successful over the last several years. As we mentioned at the top, it's not as stressful. The expectations may be high, but they're not as high as Kentucky. And I do think that helps Calipari. I mean, we saw what he did at Memphis with lower expectations. He went to a national championship. And I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I do think that we could see it be very successful for Arkansas and for Calipari.
I'm going to bounce this off you. And this is I was trying to just think through it before my show today, and this is all I could really come up with. Challenges for him going to Arkansas. Not really many. He's dealt with high expectations. These are lower expectations. I think he'll get good recruits. He'll be fine even at Arkansas, and especially if they're giving him $5 or $6 million to spend in recruiting. I think he'll be pretty damn good there. They've gave him assurances, good NIL. You can get anybody you want in from the transfer portal, those type of things. The only challenge I could come up with is Arkansas is a lot different than Memphis and Kentucky in the fact that basketball doesn't run everything at that institution.
Correct.
Now, he will find a way, always, to tell the AD, hey, basketball needs to run your institution. But they're still so invested in baseball and football that where, he can't get away with what he did to Mark Stoops the same way at Arkansas. Where he was, sort of throwing football to the side at Kentucky. Memphis and Kentucky are very basketball-oriented schools, basketball-oriented athletic departments. Arkansas ain't the same way.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to get used to not being the absolute power broker in the athletic department every step of the way.
He's gonna have to learn how to play nice.
Yes. And I don't really know if he can do that. And also, if we're being honest about it, Arkansas is basically already telling him, yeah, you're going to run things.
Yeah.
Right? They're like $8 million a year. You're getting paid more than every coach on campus, and we're going to give you $6 million. But if that doesn't work out and it doesn't get them to a second weekend or whatever, he's going to have to play nicer.
Yeah.
And that's not. I don't think that athletic department is built like the two he's been previously.
It's not. It's
that's all
not.
I'm saying.
No, it's a really fair point. I like that point a lot. It makes sense. We'll see how that all plays out because it is different. It's much different.
I think ultimately, good hire. And I want Kentucky. Who do you think they go get? Scott Drew. He's the favorite at 1-1, but he's done great at Baylor. And you step into more expectations. He built the expectations of Baylor.
Yeah.
So he'd step into huge expectations that aren't built by him. Who are the other names? Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan is right up there.
Bruce Pearl.
Bruce Pearl's up there.
Discussion.
Hey,
there.
Penny Hardaway made the cut.
25-1.
25-1 odds.
Just after 20-1, cut him off.
I haven't
If he's
named-
25-1, Penny would. Speaking of a job that Penny would hate, and oh my God, he would if he talked about the expectations about Memphis fans. Oh, good God,
Kentucky, different ball game.
I have a name that I want to throw to y'all.
Okay.
I think you back the Brinks truck up. If you're Kentucky, you head up to Boston, you knock on the general manager's door, and you say, Brad, don't you want to come back and coach college
Brad
basketball?
Stevens, listen, if you could make that happen, sure. That ain't happening though. Brad Stevens looks way too happy as a president of basketball ops.
I don't
He's
know.
doing a good
He's
job.
doing a good job, and
too.
I don't know why he would go back.
Yeah.
Don't know why he would go back at all.
He was a Final Four. He was a national
Butler,
championship
right?
game
He went to the championship
At-
against Duke
at Butler.
with
or something.
Butler. Gordon
Yeah, I mean,
Hayward.
he's a great coach, but he hasn't coached in a few years, and I don't know if he wants to do that.
That stress.
Billy Donovan would be kind of an interesting thought. He hadn't done well with the Bulls, but we know what he did in college. He was the last back-to-back champion
Yep.
in 06-07 with Florida, so we'll see.
True.
I think Kentucky will get a good coach in there.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
hunch tells me they're going to get a guy who's probably been to an Elite Eight or Final Four, or
Yes.
multiple of each.
Yep. Agree with that. All right, Kenny, last point, and let's get out of here.
Let's go UFC 300. Obviously, we had to call an audible during the break and say UFC 300's got to be a part of this conversation. What a amazing card this weekend. Saturday night in Las Vegas. Just an incredible card. Christian, do me a favor. Let's walk through some of the bouts.
I'm gonna go through every one on the card because that's how deep it is. So we're not gonna spend any time breaking it down. This is the rules for both of y'all. We're all three gonna answer. We're gonna go through every bout, and all we can say is who we think is gonna win. Y'all ready?
Yep.
All right. First up, I don't know if it's the right order exactly, but we're just gonna go with it. Davison Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt, 2 former champions.
Davison Figueiredo.
Knockout. Davison Figueiredo.
Yep, Davison Figueiredo, clean.
How gross is that's the early prelim?
That's the first. That's the curtain jerker, man.
Yeah.
That's the curtain jerker. A former champion. Sorry.
my God.
Keep going, Christian.
Bobby Green and Jim Miller. This is a fun fight.
Give me Bobby Green by KO, baby. He doesn't cover his face though.
Give me Jim Miller by submission.
Yep, give me Jim Miller by sub. All right, Jessica Andrade and Marina Rodriguez.
I don't know.
Another former champion in Jessica Andrade. I think there's 11 current and former
I'll
champions
say
on this
Jessica
card.
Andrade.
Yep.
I agree. It's
Knockout.
a pick 'em. It is a pick 'em though. This one is good. This is probably the best fight on the early prelims. Jalen Turner and Hanato Moicano.
Ooh.
Moicano.
Moicano.
Yeah, sorry.
Give me Moicano.
Give me Jalen Turner.
Give me Moicano. He's vicious.
I love Jalen Turner though. All right, on to the prelims. Sadiq Youssef and Diego Lopez.
Yusuf.
Give me Diego Lopez. He's nasty.
I know who I'm picking for this next one.
I'm gonna go Diego Lopez on that one too.
All right.
Kayla Harrison's gonna kick the shit out of Holly Holm.
Holly Holm and
She's
Kayla
gonna
Harrison.
beat the
She's
hell
Gonna
out of her, dude.
ragdoll her.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so bad. I hate that. Like, why did they do this to poor Holly?
I don't know.
Damn.
She's a former boxing world
Yeah.
champion.
She's like 800 years old. And Kayla Harrison is
a
beast.
monster. She is a monster.
She is terrifying.
Yeah, Kayla Harrison.
Over
clean.
under.
It's gonna be bad.
Over under 17
is
rug
good.
burns.
Oh,
on,
dude, she
Holly
is
Holm
going
by the
to.
end.
She's just going to take her down and hold her down this whole fight. And
Because Holly
beat the
Holm,
crap out of her.
it's just funny too. Because Holly Holm, I know, like at this point, she's just sort of got like that. She'll give you a 2 or 3 piece combination and then circle right.
Yeah.
2 or 3 piece combination,
Yeah.
circle right. Like Kayla Harrison knows that, sees that in film, and is going to take her down immediately.
Yep. And also, speaking of former champions, Holly Holm, former champion. Kayla Harrison, former champion in PFL. Calvin Cater and Aljamain Sterling. Very interesting fight here.
I have to say Aljo.
Aljo, definitely. He's going to control him on the
Have to.
ground.
This is Aljo moving up.
Yeah.
First fight at
I
featherweight.
think I gotta take Aljo though.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's-
Calvin Cater, I haven't seen him fight.
He just doesn't have the power.
Didn't
He doesn't have the
Who was the
power.
last person? Did he fight Arnold Allen?
Yes.
Was that the last person he fought?
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick Aljo here, but I will say the odds are very close. Minus 108, minus 112, basically a pick 'em there. This one, fun one.
Yeah.
Another former champion in Yuri Prohaska versus like perennial contender Alexander Rakic, who's never been able to kind of take
Yeah,
that
he's
step over
there.
the top. This
Yeah.
one's almost a pick 'em too at plus 110 and minus 130.
I got Rakic.
Whew, I got Yuri.
I got Yuri, but I think it'll be a good fight.
Rakic has not been able to get over because of injury. Let's just be frank. But that's
Yeah,
what's been
but
going
I
on
mean,
with
he
him.
had his opportunity against Thiago Santos, and he just didn't really look impressive. And I know that was a couple years ago, but that was like his shot. It never happened. So give me Yuri. I'm still a big fan of Yuri. All right, going on to the main
Skip
card.
this one.
This is stupid to me.
This is stupid. They got to give this guy
Why do you put Cody like
Cody
okay, I
Brundage.
get Bo Nickel.
Cody Brundage versus Bo Nickel.
I
out
get
of my
putting Bo
face.
Nickel out there for your first fight on the main card.
But give
But
him somebody.
Dana-
It's time.
Dana,
it's
why?
time.
Like I know Cody Brundage is like, oh yeah, great opportunity, dude. It's not a great opportunity.
No, you're going to
He's
get smashed.
kill you.
And probably within 30 seconds.
Like give him somebody real. I
Yeah,
know he's
it-
only 5-0 and he's only fought
it's
whatever.
time.
It's
It's time.
If you're gonna put him on the main card, give him somebody
He's
real.
a minus 1350 in this fight.
Give him
That's
somebody
what I'm,
real.
That's
It's
what I'm saying.
frustrating,
That's what I'm
man.
saying. I mean, yes, if he was like a minus 450 favorite, whatever. But minus 1350 is ridiculous. He's going to murder Cody Brundage. This is a great fight. Another former champion in Charles Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian. Pretty close odds on this one as well. Charles Oliveira plus 170. Arman Sarukian at minus 205. Give me Charles Oliveira.
Give me Arman Sarukian.
Give me Charles.
All right. For the BMF belt, this is Max Holloway moving up to lightweight to take on Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, a decently heavy favorite at minus 238. Give me Gaethje.
Is this 5-round fight? 3
Yeah,
round.
I think it is because it's
It's
for
a BMF
BMF.
Yeah.
I've seen Max move up to lightweight before.
Didn't work out well.
It didn't
with
work out,
Poirier.
and it was
I'll go
Dustin Poirier.
Justin. I'll go Justin. But here's Max. If it gets into the 4th and 5th round, Max will just sort of be winning by points. I don't think Max is going to knock him out.
I don't think
or anything.
that.
No, he's not. No.
I don't see this fight going to the end.
Max is my favorite fighter
But
in
I'm
the
saying-
UFC.
but Max-
if this fight goes 5 rounds, it will set the record for most strikes in a fight.
Yes, but Max can't knock him out, and I think Justin. It depends on Max's defense.
But and Justin's going to.
I'll
eat,
say Justin.
Justin's going to eat everything Max throws, and he's so much
But
more
Max
powerful.
cannot. Max will not be able to just eat.
No,
Justin.
Nobody
pop
can.
him in
Nobody
the
can.
face. So
but
like,
the thing is, and I'll give this a little bit to Max. I think when he moved up against Dustin, he didn't have as much time. So we'll see. Maybe adding this weight, keeping this weight on, gives him a little more power. But we will see. All right, first true title fight of the night, women's strawweight, Zhang Wei Li, and I'm sorry, I cannot
Yan
remember.
Xiaonan.
Yan Xiaonan. And this is the first ever Chinese versus Chinese title fight.
Zhang Wei Li.
Zhang Wei Li.
Yeah, give me
yes.
I'll go Zhang Wei Li as well.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
Though. I think it's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
And then to cap it off, I know some people aren't as excited about this because it isn't as flashy as people would
Whatever,
like
bro.
it to be. But this is
Such a good
Hands are about to get
champion that
thrown.
did not lose his belt. And Jamal Hill suffered a torn Achilles playing basketball versus Alex Pajeda. for the light heavyweight championship. This is Alex Pereira's first defense of the title. Odds are probably closer than most people expect. Alex Pereira minus 155, Jamal Hill plus 130.
Jamal is a monster.
Pereira KO.
Jamal is a monster.
I want to take Jamal just because I love Jamal.
I'm going Jamal.
But Alex Pereira is like the scariest dude.
I'll take Poatan by KO.
We have seen Alex get knocked out.
That's true.
We have not seen Jamal get knocked out.
Yeah,
That's
we
true.
have.
Who did Jamal get knocked out by?
Who's one loss?
Yeah, I don't know if he got knocked out.
Paul Craig, wasn't it?
If he lost to Paul
he
Craig,
lost to Paul
submitted.
Craig.
It was an
I'm
arm
pretty sure. He lost, but he lost early to Paul Craig.
No, I'm just saying we haven't seen
He's
him
never
get
been. He's never been
flatlined.
knocked out.
Okay, but he's lost.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
and
he's
obviously
lost.
Pereira doesn't do that. But I'm taking Pereira.
Yeah, he lost. Oh, he actually did. He got knocked out in the first round by Paul Craig.
See, I'm not dumb.
Damn,
That's not who you would expect him to get knocked out
just
by.
saying.
but
Round of applause.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know. Like I'm going to take Pereira here.
I'm taking Pereira as well, but I'm rooting for Jamal Hill
I'm
because
going Jamal Hill.
Jamal Hill's story is awesome. He won the belt, never got to even defend it. He beat the crap out of Glover Teixeira to win the belt, just
He's been in
pulverized him.
some legal trouble though lately, hadn't he?
He beat up his brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
No big deal.
no big deal.
He's like his brother ain't coming.
There's crazier things out there.
I'm sure you've beat up Alex before. It happens.
Yeah, I did it once. Never fought after that.
Yeah.
He was the older brother. He saw I caught up.
Yeah.
He said, "No, we don't.
I'm
need to
done."
do that anymore."
All right. Well, I know I'm excited for this weekend. I kind of hope we come back on Monday and Gabe tells me he was wearing those glasses all day Sunday again. Kind of hope you tie another one on.
Tie another one
Why
on,
not,
man.
man. I'm getting older. I don't
Get
need to
after
do
it,
that.
bro.
I need to think about my health.
Yeah, that's fair.
Longevity, man.
Yes, dude.
All right. We appreciate you
I want to
guys.
be here for a good time and a long time.
Okay, both. You're going to mix it up.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate you guys for joining us this week. Obviously, with us talking about UFC 300 right now, we're going to be talking about it again next weekend. So if you don't watch it, you're going to be missing out, and you're going to miss out on our breakdown of it. That is going to be better than any UFC commentator can do. Don't you agree with that,
Hell
Gabe?
yeah. 100%.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
I bet nobody else knew Paul Craig knocked out Jamal
Yeah,
Hill.
exactly, because I sure as hell didn't. All right, thank you guys for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, comment there. If you're listening wherever you get your podcast, you can do all the same things on any of those platforms. We will see you guys back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.